Good afternoon, students. I'd like to talk to you a little about how many words you should write or speak for an examination test. Generally speaking, the answer is quite easy. You will get a good mark based upon the quality of your writing or speaking, not the quantity. So, provided you have fulfilled the minimum requirement, for example, 250 words in IELTS Essay Task 2 or 300 words in the Independent Essay for TOEFL, then your marking will be decided entirely upon your level of English. So, for example, suppose you write 2 essays for the IELTS Task 2, 250 words and 300 words respectively, and both essays have exactly the same quality of writing. They will get exactly the same grade. You get no additional marks for the extra 50 words. So it would have been better for this student to go back through the 250 words they have already written and try to improve those. This can be done by adding detail, checking grammar, changing or adding vocabulary, checking spelling, and so on. So generally speaking, I recommend that you aim for about 10 to 15% more words than the requirement of the exam. Then spend what few minutes you may have remaining at the end to go back through and check and improve your writing. There is an exception here, that is with students who already have a very good level of English and are expecting to get maybe 8s and 110 respectively in IELTS and TOEFL. For these students, they may find that the allotted number of words is insufficient to give all the detail they want. Allotted, A-L-L-O-T-T-E-D. In this case, they should continue writing, even if the number of words is vastly in excess of what is required. However, these are exceptions and rare. Most students will struggle to write the minimum number of words at a reasonable quality. So for most students, I would not recommend writing an excessive number of words. Try to stick to just a little over the required amount. With IELTS, which is a paper-based exam, I would always recommend that you leave at least 6 lines empty after each paragraph. So when you get to the end of your essay, you can add more detail to each paragraph if you want to and if you have time. This is the best way to improve your score, by going into more detail, more depth in your examples. If students write too many words, it may well be that they are repeating themselves or just talking abstractly or generally, not going into detail, and this is not going to get them higher scores. And of course, last but not least, don't forget that you must answer the question. This is very important, so underline the important words in the question. Make sure that you deal with each of those points in your writing or speaking. You can lose a massive amount of points if you forget or miss out an essential part of the question. Let's talk a little bit now about speaking tests. These are different to essays and writing in that you cannot go back and change what you have said or improve it or even check it. For example, in the Task 2 IELTS speaking task, you have to talk for up to 2 minutes and you have no opportunity to go back through what you have said. So in this situation, I would recommend you talk more rather than less, because you may be able to add information or detail which you did not earlier, but you may not remember exactly what you said at the beginning of your talk. But do try not to be repetitive. Try to give more detail more examples about the story you have started. Always refer to your notes, which you should have made before you started speaking or writing. Don't be afraid to pause for a moment while you gather your thoughts, and make sure you talk in paragraphs and sentences. You can also find the physical act of speaking in a foreign language is quite tiring. I find it quite tiring to speak in Thai, even though I have been using Thai for more than 12 years now. And I find if I don't speak for even a few hours, the next time I have to speak, it's tiring and hard work. So some practice you can do by yourself is you can just practice reading aloud in English. If you want, you can use the Economist articles which I send you every week. The last one was number 316, Suicide in America. I would recommend you actually record your reading. So read the article and then listen to yourself. You can compare your speaking with the speaking of the professional speakers who read the article. This should help you in two ways. It should improve your presentation, your pausing, your intonation, your pronunciation. And secondly, it should make it easier for you to produce English sounds, especially high quality English sounds. You should also see how many words you will speak at normal speed in perhaps 1 minute. For me, it is around 100. It should not be too different for you. You should find that reading at a normal speed, maybe a bit quicker than I am now, you should produce around 100 words in 1 minute. This will help you to judge how long you have to answer questions in TOEFL and IELTS in the speaking sections. Sometimes you will have a fixed period of time to answer the question in speaking tests. Can be anywhere from 45 seconds in some TOEFL questions to 2 minutes in the IELTS test 2. As I have said, you should try to use the whole amount of time and continue talking, but going into more and more depth. If you're worried about whether you have answered all parts of the question, as in task 2, I would recommend you answer all parts of the question in the first paragraph. For example, if the question is, tell me about a memorable journey you once took, where you went, how you got there, why you liked it, you could give all that information in the first paragraph. So you could say, for example, one of the best trips I ever went on was a trip I took to Phuket 2 years ago. I went with a group of friends by train, which was an incredibly long journey, but we had a lot of fun when we got there because Phuket is an exciting island. So just that first piece of speaking answers all the questions. So now you can go into more detail about what you did on Phuket, or about the journey, or about your friends. Some speaking tests do not have a time limit. For example, in task 1 and task 3 in IELTS, I would recommend you talk for as long as possible. Don't give the examiner an opportunity to ask you another question, which you again have to prepare in your mind. Better for you to continue answering the same question and give more and more detail, especially in task 3, which will have very essay-like questions. Remember to speak in sentences and paragraphs. Use pauses, emphasis, and joining words. Also, don't be afraid to ask the examiner a question, or to ask for permission to continue with your answer. Remember, he is there to help you. He is not there to make your life difficult. So if you paused for a moment while thinking about how to continue your answer and he interrupts you, you can say something like, can I continue with that answer, please? Or I haven't finished that answer yet, may I continue? If he says no, then no problem, just go on to the next question. Okay, students, I hope that has answered some of your questions. So finally, don't forget to practice speaking by yourself. Both the method I have already suggested, reading the Economist articles to yourself, then listening to your own speaking, and also answering questions typical to the exam you will be doing. So you can get used to talking in English and also the process of composing your thoughts and producing a story. When practicing, it is not necessary to stay within word limitations or time limitations, but you should always be aware of how long you are taking and how many words you are using. Okay, students, thank you for listening. Goodbye.